It's Friday night in the A, and you know what that means. Kelly Price and Tori McElhaney coming at you on Rise Up Tonight, presented by AT&T.
Welcome into another edition of Rise Up Tonight, where 500 is a great place to be, and it's always a pleasure to have Tori McElhaney by my side here as well.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm going to hit y'all with some trivia. The last time the Falcons had back-to-back wins, weeks 8 and 9 in 2020.
Wow.
Let's huddle up about how they got here and what's next.
Let's huddle up with Kelly and Tori on the world of Falcons football.
Well, for the second week in a row, the Dirty Birds defense came up clutch to ice the game. And if you watched last week's show, I told you so. Gotta be honest, it's just fun to see this young defense flying around, but also learning how to be consistent, bending and not breaking like we've talked about. What's been the biggest key that you think keeps Atlanta in these games, making plays when they really matter most in these red zone, in critical situations and ends of games?
It really is that bend but don't break mentality that this defense has got going on right now. For the last 2 weeks, we have seen this defense consistently step up when it matters most. And look, I am glad that you brought up this red zone defense the Falcons have going on right now, because it really does feel like when this defense gets inside the 20, they shift into a completely different gear. Over the last 2 games, the Falcons have held Seattle and Cleveland to a combined 3 for 8 in the red zone. That's less than a 40% touchdown conversion rate. This defensive production in the red zone is something I really think not only is keeping the Falcons in games, but in the position to win them.
Also a big factor in beating the Browns was the rushing attack. The Falcons running back group carried the rock for 35 times, 202 total yards, including 14 straight rushes for 172 yards in that second half. Their 168 yards per game is 4th in the NFL. Their average 5.1 yards per carry is good for 6th, but no Cordell Patterson in the next couple weeks. He heads to IR after getting some work done on his knee. So what will the ground game look like this week?
I'm going to be honest with you, Kelly. It's actually not something that I am too worried about. I don't think I'm all too worried that CP is not going to be out there. If this is after the Seattle game, perhaps I feel like this is more of a dire situation to not have him. But I really think that Tyler Algier and Caleb Huntley did very well for themselves against the Browns. Heck, Tyler Algier averaged over 5 yards a carry. They showed against the Browns that they can take on more responsibility. Kelly and I actually talked to Tyler this week about the opportunity to go out there and be one of the primary ball carriers this week, and he talked about the consistency in his preparation and how it doesn't change even if the circumstances around him do. And I honestly think that's pretty good advice for everyone.
So, how does first place in the NFC South before we even get near this bye week sound? I can't say I had that in my bingo card for the Atlanta Falcons, but that's exactly what's at stake in Tampa Bay this Sunday. I know, it's crazy. Both the Bucs and Birds are 2-2, but Tampa is coming in having dropped their last 2, while Atlanta has done the opposite, trending upwards their last 2 weeks. The division battle this time just means a little bit more, doesn't it?
I honestly think it kind of does. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if I had it on my bingo card that the Falcons would be 2-2 heading into this game. Sure, I thought it was possible, but with so many new pieces, I just didn't know what this team would look like. Now, 4 games in, I feel like I have a new understanding of who this team is, and what I'll say about it is that they show up. We've seen all 4 games they've played come down to the 4th quarter, and I expect nothing less from this divisional showdown. And hey, if the Falcons can get over 500 and do so by beating Tampa Bay, shoot, that's a pretty big deal for a team in transition.
Well, and these Falcons are looking to make statements on and off the field. Let's take a look at Sunday's Falcons Fix. Casey Hayward, the headliner this week, with an incredible shirt. There is so much going on here, but in the best way. I don't exactly know where to look, but it's giving summer vacation Hawaiian shirt, like more sophisticated.
More sophisticated, I like that. I was going to say it really looks like one of those abstract art pieces that people say they understand the meaning of, but actually don't. Either way, it's a fun shirt.
Absolutely. Well, now for Taquan Graham, again serving a cheetah print look. This one is subtle with the pattern on his cargo pants. The t-shirt is a casual addition. I don't know if he meant to do this or not, but I like that he kept it in the same color scheme to match.
Okay, this is now, I think, the second time we've seen TQ in cheetah print. I love it when someone stays on theme. And don't worry, everyone, Kelly and I will keep our Cheetah Girls references to a minimum today.
At least until next time he wears cheetah print next week. So the thing I relate to most about Lorenzo Carter's Sunday outfit is the moment that you have to take off your jacket or your sweater because it gets too hot. That is a very fake fall phenomenon. That's exactly what Lorenzo is going through here with the tied around the waist flannel look. I would like to think that he's just like the rest of us and did this for that exact reason.
Here's the thing, you can literally never go wrong with a flannel. Never, ever. And honestly, the more I look at this fit, the more I think I have actually worn this exact thing a few times over the years during the fall season or fake fall season. So great minds think alike.
Finally, got to give some love to Timmy Horn for wearing my favorite color, some really great green here. It is another fake fall look, white jeans after Labor Day. Always a bold move, but I think it worked out for him, Tori.
I feel like my mom beat it into my brain that you do not wear white after Labor Day. But Mom, Timmy Horn would like a word because he's taking those fashion norms and throwing them out the window.
And we are here for it. Well, with the Braves headed into the postseason with next week's NLDS and the Hawks tipping off their season in just a few weeks, we asked some of the Falcons what other Atlanta sports teams that they think that they could play for in our question of the week.
Braves. I think playing baseball would be pretty cool, but I haven't played since 6th grade, so I don't think I got it anymore. Probably first base or catcher. I like catcher, yeah.
Atlanta United. It would be striker. That's what I grew up playing, so.
Atlanta United, goalie. I just feel like I'm good with moving lateral and being able to deflect, something that I do right now.
Basketball, of course, yeah. Hoop, I was a basketball player first. I still had hoop dreams, but I was just a little vertically challenged. Forward, yeah, I'm a put a dunk on your head type of guy.
Koo playing soccer makes a lot of sense, right? Yeah. AJ Terrell as a goalie, that I think I'd have to see.
Okay, here, I actually think that this makes a lot of sense, and hear me out. If you think about it, a save in principle is very similar to a pass breakup. So AJ, I see you. I understand.
Maybe we'll start calling it a save instead of a PBU, right?
Great.
And Lorenzo Carter, I don't think you're vertically challenged, sir. You are much taller than the both of us. So anyways, still to come on Rise Up tonight, we welcome a social media star who is a voice actor and impressions guru, and he has us all fired up about Atlanta sports. Stay tuned as we go in the nest with Ethan Trace.
And the Falcons took part in their annual hometown huddle earlier this week. That story is next on Rise Up Tonight.
Rise Up Tonight is presented by AT&T and brought to you by Georgia Lottery. Today could be the day. By Home Depot, how doers get more done. By Mercedes-Benz, the best of nothing. And by Truist, committed to a better future.
This Tuesday, the Falcons took part in their 15th annual hometown huddle as the entire roster dedicated time on their off day to make a difference in Atlanta. This year, players, season ticket members, and volunteers participated in a cleanup project at Anderson Park on the west side. Check out how it went as we Rise Up for Atlanta, brought to you by Truist.
What's going on? We out here getting these parks, Anderson Park, as you can see, getting it right, putting these plants down. Stay tuned on the finished product.
We came, we did our thing. I'm a gardener now. Check me out. I'm certified. Yo, we out here with the gang, you know what I'm saying? With Bird Lady and Birdman right there. Yo, Duke Hunt. We out here getting to work, man. We care about our craft. We painting these benches for the community. We out here.
Go. Anderson Park.
Anderson Park with it.
Over here got some all-purpose cleaner, just cleaning up any type of scrapes, anything we see on the slide right now. Just
try to get the park back right. Possible. That's for the little kids, man.
Trying to make sure they slide down, germ-free.
What's up, y'all? It's Drake London. We out here at Anderson Park cleaning up, showing love to the community.
We love the community, y'all.
Rise up, baby.
Community, rise up.
Hey, rise up. Go ahead, get you one.
Hey, it's your boy, man. Rise up, Big Dirty Bird.
Got to keep the slides germ-free, as AJ said. So we keep hearing about the Falcons talk about physicality on both sides of the ball, right? Coming into this 2022 campaign, I think a lot of us weren't really sure what the identity of this Falcons team was going to be. But as you pointed out in your notebook this week, Tori, the answer might just be what Arthur Smith's been preaching about all along. Are you surprised that the physicality of this team has really become their identity?
I actually don't think I'm all that surprised, because it really does, like what you're saying, it really does bleed over from Arthur Smith himself. He has said time and time again since the moment he took this job that he wants this team to be physical. So it doesn't come as a surprise to me that I feel confident in saying this team's identity lies in physicality. However, I will say I am surprised that we're seeing that physicality come to life so quickly. And like what we were talking about earlier about the red zone defense, this physicality the entire team plays with is keeping them in the position to potentially win games in the fourth quarter. And I will say this about the 2022 Atlanta Falcons. They're a scrappy bunch.
And we love a scrappy bunch. We'll see what it does for them on Sunday. Speaking of physicality, the Falcons continue to impose their will on the ground. I think that trend continues even against the Buccaneers' stout defense. We've got some hot takes coming up.
And Atlanta sports fanatic and social media impressionist star Ethan Trace joins us next on Rise Up Tonight.
Rise Up Tonight is presented by AT&T and brought to you by Georgia Lottery. Today could be the day. By Home Depot, how doers get more done. By Mercedes-Benz, the best of nothing. And by Truist, committed to a better future. Welcome back to Rise Up Tonight. Let's head in the nest with Kelly, Tori, and this week's special guest, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz.
Welcome in the nest, Ethan Trace. He's a TikToker, a voice actor based in the Atlanta area. You have 3 million followers on TikTok, which is insane. How did you kind of grow that audience, and why do you think your content resonates with so many people?
Thank you, Kelly. Well, I actually originally started on an app called Vine, and it took me forever to find my audience. Vine was a whole different ball game, and I eventually came to figure out that what I loved doing was comedy and doing voice impressions. It started with cartoon characters, like everybody does. Family Guy, hey Lois, or hey Peter, and it evolved to just learning the art of impersonating so many people, and it just became so much fun. And then Vine's algorithm did not really do me well with success. I took 2 years after Vine got deleted. I got my degree in TV and film, and then I started working in the film industry, worked on a couple of movies, and I worked on a bunch of Atlanta shows like The Vampire Diaries, The Originals, as extra, stand-in. Started working my way up through the ranks, and then my friends told me about TikTok, and I was like, oh, what is that? And they're like, it used to be Musical.ly, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do it. And they're like, you got to try it. And so I'm like, okay, I'll give it. And I made a few videos, and eventually, I gained what it took me 3 years on Vine and followers to get in like a week. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll stick around and do it. And then eventually it just kept hitting it off.
I loved how you brought up talking about doing impressions and voice acting. I know that's something that really your followers on TikTok especially really enjoyed that you do. Can you speak more to kind of how you got into that? I know you were talking about, just sitting and watching things, but what's kind of the art of that?
I saw this guy doing a bunch of impressions of cartoon characters. I'm like, hey, I can do impressions of cartoon characters too. And I was like, like Scooby-Doo, we're on a show with the Atlanta Falcons. And then it just kind of grew from there, being like, oh, I can do these, but I want to see if I can do other people too. And then it grew to people like Captain Jack Sparrow, like Silly, or me, like Eddie Murphy, or, Chris Rock, or Cat Williams, or Gilbert Gottfried. And it's been a really fun learning experience because I'm always up for a challenge of learning new voices.
I'm curious to know your thoughts on UGA and also the Falcons, and if you have any favorite memories of, I don't know, maybe a game or meeting someone or just something from those two teams that you would like to share.
Oh, I could talk about the Georgia Bulldogs all day long. I am a diehard Georgia Bulldogs fan. I was actually born and raised in Athens for the first 6 years of my life. We moved because my dad lost his job because his boss lost an election, and we moved over to Cobb County over in Kennesaw, Georgia, where I would end up going and graduating from Harrison High School, going to Kennesaw State, and other schools to get my film degree. But the culture in Athens is great. There's not another football town in America like it. The energy, 92,000 people saying "Go Dogs" in unison sends chills down my spine every time. One of my favorite memories, my first actual football game that I went to was actually a nightmare. It was at Neyland Stadium in 2007 under the Fulmer era, and we got spanked. But that same year, we went to New Orleans to see Matt Stafford and Noshawn Marino take the Bulldogs to a victory in the Sugar Bowl. My favorite memory of going to a Falcons game was probably 4 years ago. I took my best friend Clay. My parents have season pass tickets, and they said, "Hey, we're going out of town. Would you like to have our tickets?" And I said, "Who's playing?" And it said, "We're playing the Saints." I'm like, "Okay, sweet, we're going."
I want to ask about the current Falcons team. Do you have any players that you like to watch? Like, what are kind of your thoughts on this 2-2 season so far?
We are living out in Atlanta right now. I'm just going to call it. We are living out the plot of the movie Major League. And at what at first may seem like an unrecognizable roster, and then you see like who's this guy? Who's this guy at linebacker? Who's this guy? Who's this guy at safety? Who's this guy at wide receiver? Who's this guy at running back? To the point where you're like, we just broke through their line. I don't remember the last time the Falcons had explosive running backs. I don't remember the last time we blocked a punt. I don't remember the last time we had a mobile quarterback. So I will tell you, me personally, some of my favorite players that we have seen thus far this year, Tyler Algier, explosive running back. Like, because normally us Georgia sports fans, we're only used to seeing that kind of running game for our team on Saturdays. But now it feels like we have options. If we can't throw, we'll just blast right up the middle. Now that we have running backs that can do that, we have defense that can make game-winning saves for us now. 2 weeks in a row that's happened. Like, I haven't felt this much joy as a Falcons fan in quite a while, and it feels great. It feels like there's energy being brought back to Atlanta. Terry and Arthur are building a new solid foundation. It feels really great.
Well, thank you so much for the time, Ethan. We really appreciate that. Was such a fun conversation. Anyone who wants to watch the full thing, head to fox5atlanta.com, and we will be right back on Rise Up Tonight.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Tori.
Yes.
Hey, Atlanta, this is Head Crack talking, and you watching Rise Up Tonight, presented by AT&T.
It's like I don't get caught up in whatever narrative is after 4 weeks of the daily narratives. You can almost write some of these narratives and live and die every week by the narratives because it sets up bad, narratives. So you can frame the narrative, you can write narratives. Those are easy narratives.
Well, Coach, you know what is a bona fide fact, not just a narrative, that the Falcons can run the dang ball. Yeah. We do not need Sandra Bullock to tell him that either. Arthur Smith said Sunday after the big win against the Browns, they're not sneak attacking anybody. Opponents know the Falcons want to run the ball, just that they haven't been able to stop them. Right. And I know Tampa's defense, especially up front, is elite and experienced, but I'm not sure they're going to stop them either. The Falcons' offensive line is playing with their hair on fire, opening some insane lanes for the Falcons running backs. This will be a huge test, though. And yeah, there's no CP this week, but I don't think it's a state secret that Arthur Smith will feed Caleb Huntley and Tyler Algier. And talking to those guys this week, they are fired up to continue bruising opponents, imposing their will for 4 quarters. My hot take, Tyler Algier gets his first career touchdown, and the ground game picks up right where it left off, Tori.
I like it, and I'd argue they are playing a much more daunting front in Tampa than Cleveland. So you're right, it's going to be quite the test to be sure this Sunday. I'm actually going to go on the other side of the ball for my hot take, which is really more of a hopeful prediction. I think it's about time Taquan Graham gets a sack. Look, TQ is playing very well for the Falcons defensive front alongside Grady Jarrett right now, but I think his performance is actually getting overlooked. He currently leads the team in quarterback hits, but he hasn't managed to bring the quarterback down to the ground just yet for a sack. I think he's more than due for one, and I do feel like he's itching for his first in Tampa. I think it's time.
I agree with that one for sure. And Tampa's offensive line definitely a little suspect right now, and so is Tom Brady. A lot going on with him, obviously, which really could go either way on Sunday as far as his performance. Rashaan Evans, formerly a Titan, played against Brady, the Patriot, twice, beat him once. He said you got to keep him on his heels. I just feel like this Tampa team is not as good as many thought it would be, from injuries to just not really clicking. What do you think?
There's a lot that needs needs to happen for Atlanta and Tampa for this to be a good game. I really think that this could be a lot of fun to watch because both teams are still trying to figure things out. It's going to be a test on Sunday.
For sure. And we'll let you know how it goes next Friday night. Thanks for staying up late with us here. Have a great night.